September 16, 1994. I was 29 years old when the federal government kicked my door in. They kicked my door in and they charged me and 13 other homeboys with the RICO and the VICO. I was charged with one of the leaders as being the leader of the conspiracy with the RICO charge, and I was also charged with being the enforcer in the conspiracy, in which they were steady trying to pin different. They tried to pin four bodies on us in the case, and all kind of crazy things. Everything that they had open, they was trying to basically give it to us. Our trial lasted for about 33 days. It took us a year before we could finally get our trial date. So we was in jail, locked up, going back and forth to court for about a year. And then we finally got our time in a year. And me and myself, we was all sent dispersed away from each other. They tried to keep us all away from each other. I ended up going to, a lot of them went to FCIs. I ended up going to USP Florence Penitentiary. I only went to penitentiaries in Supermax. I went to USP Florence Penitentiary. I was at USP Florence Penitentiary for 2 years. And I was there 2 years, and I ended up getting assault for stabbing a guy and assault on the police. And I was shipped to USP Leavenworth, one of the oldest penitentiary it was at that time, 106 years old. I was at USP Leavenworth for 5 years, and I ended up getting a charge for stabbing a guy 13 times. So therefore, I was shipped to Supermax Marion. I was in Supermax Marion for 5 years, in which I found it of good conduct. I left there and I got sent back to got sent to USP Pollock. While I was at USP Pollock in Louisiana for about 7 months, then I ended up being involved in group disturbance on the yard in which we stabbed 13 different individuals, and I was shipped from there to Lewisburg Penitentiary. I was at Lewisburg the first time for about two months. I ended up getting a assault, fighting on the hallway, and then eventually intimidating a staff member, intimidating and threatening a staff member, and then it concluded with me getting shipped for stabbing my cellie, tying my cellie up and stabbing him, and I got shipped to Canaan. I got shipped to USP Canaan, where I only lasted there 2 months, but I got into it, and I got teamed and got into it with the staff, and they decided they didn't want me there. So I was then sent to USP West Virginia, Hazleton in West Virginia, which is where Whitey Bulger came and got killed. I was on the compound for about 3 months, and then I ended up catching a charge for assaulting the officer while he was choking an individual. So I stayed in the hole 18 months going back and forth to court, and I was indicted for assault on the officer in the process of his duty, and they found a knife, two knives in my cell, so I was facing 30 years for the assault on officers and 5 years for the knife. I ended up got 3 years for that, and then I turned around. I was shipped back to Lewisburg that had became a special management unit where they was keeping you locked down 22 hours a day. And so I was there, and during the time I was there, that's when my lawsuit came into force, where they kept me in restraint for 40 days because I wouldn't hurt a mental patient who they tried to put in the cell with me because 5 people had been killed in the 1 year that I had been there because they was taking rivals and putting them in the cell with each other. When one rival killed the other rival, they get the other one life while the other one dead, or try to give him a death penalty, and I wouldn't play that game. So they deemed me with too much influence and unable to control me. So they ended up sending me to the USP Supermax ADX. And I did my last 12 and a half years at Supermax ADX, where, like I said, I was around the Unabomber, every bomber, every serial killer, the worstest of the worst, what society considered the worstest of the worst in America. That's the Supermax, most Supermax penitentiary in America by the Fed. So I ended up staying there, and through my travels, I ended up altogether doing right at 28 years. Right at 28 years in the federal system. I got a reprieve when the judge they They said that I wasn't with the lack of evidence they had against me. In fact, they had never had nothing concrete on me. I never had been arrested with nothing. I never even been caught with a gun. Never been caught with dope. But yet still, I got the most time of everybody out of the conspiracy because of what people were saying, who I was as the leader, and the influence that I had out on the street, and the fear that they had for their lives.